Before we begin, make sure you're somewhere quiet. Turn off the lights. Put on your headphones. Because the stories you're about to hear aren't just scary. These are the kinds of experiences people don't talk about. If you enjoy true horror stories, unsettling encounters, and disturbing events that happen to real people, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Now, let's begin. The storm wasn't supposed to be that bad. That's what everyone said before it hit. I was driving home from a late shift just outside of Duluth, Minnesota. It was early January, the kind of cold that makes your lungs sting when you breathe too fast. The radio kept warning about worsening conditions, but I'd lived here my whole life. Snowstorms were normal. Predictable. Annoying, but manageable. This one wasn't. By the time I reached the county road that cut through 40 miles of nothing but trees and frozen marshland, the snow had thickened into a white wall. Visibility dropped to maybe 10 feet. My headlights reflected back at me like I was driving inside a tunnel of falling ash. Then my phone lost signal. No bars. No GPS. Just static. I considered turning back, but the road behind me had already disappeared. The snow erased everything equally, forward, backward, left, right. The world became motion without direction. About 15 minutes later, my car began to slow. The steering wheel vibrated violently. I felt the tires sink. I pressed the gas harder, heart thumping, but it was useless. The engine screamed once, then died. Silence. Not quiet silence. The kind that presses against your ears until you notice your own heartbeat. I tried restarting the car. Nothing. I sat there gripping the wheel, breath fogging the windshield, staring into a storm that seemed endless. Snow piled up fast, swallowing the hood inch by inch. I knew one thing for sure: if I stayed in the car all night without heat, I wouldn't wake up. So I grabbed my coat, flashlight, and stepped outside. The wind hit me like a punch. It stole the air from my lungs. Snow stabbed my face, finding every gap in my clothing. The cold was alive, biting, hunting. I shut the door behind me and immediately felt disoriented. The car looked different already. Smaller. Like it was being erased. I forced myself to walk forward, hoping there was a farmhouse or ranger station somewhere along the road. My boots crunched through snow that reached halfway up my calves. After maybe 10 minutes, I saw something dark ahead. A structure. Relief washed over me so fast it almost knocked me down. It was a cabin. Old. Wooden. Barely visible through the storm, hunched under the weight of snow like it had been waiting a long time for someone to find it. I knocked on the door. Nothing. I knocked harder. Still nothing. I tried the handle. Unlocked. Inside, the air was stale but warmer than outside. The cabin had one room. A table. 2 chairs. A rusted wood stove. No electricity. No signs of recent life. Except for the footprints. They were fresh. Leading from the back door to the stove. And they were barefoot. I froze, staring at them. They weren't mine. I hadn't taken my boots off. The prints were small, uneven, like whoever made them was limping or dragging something. I backed toward the door, suddenly aware of how loud my breathing was. Then I heard it. A soft scraping sound. From beneath the floor. I held my breath. The sound came again. Slow. Deliberate. Like fingernails dragging across wood. I told myself it was an animal. A raccoon. A fox. Anything but what my instincts were screaming. I sat near the stove, keeping my flashlight trained on the floorboards. The scraping stopped. Minutes passed. Then came a knock. 3 slow knocks. From the back door. I didn't move. The knocks came again. Louder this time. "Hello," a voice called. It sounded wrong. Too flat. Too calm. Like someone imitating what they thought a person should sound like. "I'm freezing," the voice said. "Please let me in." I wanted to answer. Every instinct told me to run to the door. But something about that voice, it didn't match the storm outside. No shivering. No strain. No fear. Just patience. "I know you're in there," it continued. "I saw your light." My flashlight flickered. The scraping beneath the floor resumed, faster now. I realized then, the footprints led inside, not out. Whatever was knocking hadn't come from the storm. It had already been there. The back door handle rattled violently. I jumped up and ran for the front door, throwing it open. And stopped. Because standing outside, half buried in snow, was my car. Not just any car. My car. Same dented bumper. Same cracked headlight. But I hadn't driven it here. I turned slowly. The cabin was gone. The walls. The stove. The door behind me. All gone. I was standing alone in the storm, surrounded by endless white. Then I heard my own voice behind me. "Hello," it said. "I'm freezing." I woke up in a hospital 3 days later. They found me unconscious on the side of the county road, miles from where my car was abandoned. Hypothermia. Severe frostbite. They said I'd been walking in circles for hours. When I told them about the cabin, they exchanged looks. There hadn't been a cabin in that area for over 50 years. It burned down during a blizzard in 1971. The owners were never found. But rescue teams still report something strange during snowstorms. They say sometimes, over the wind, they hear knocking. And a voice asking to be let in. If you ever hear it, don't answer. I used to work overnight maintenance for a remote ski lodge in northern Colorado. The job was simple: keep the generators running, clear emergency exits, and make sure the pipes didn't freeze. During winter storms, guests weren't allowed to leave, and staff weren't allowed to quit early. Once the snow came down hard enough, you were stuck until it decided to let you go. The night everything happened, there were only 4 of us left in the lodge. Me. A cook named Daniel. A front desk girl named Erin. And the night manager, a guy called Mark. The storm rolled in just after midnight. At first, it was peaceful. Thick snow, soft wind. The kind of quiet that makes the building feel like it's floating. Then, around 1:40 a.m., the power flickered. The generator kicked on automatically, but something felt wrong. The lodge creaked. Not normal settling sounds. Long, stressed groans, like wood bending under pressure. Then the radios crackled. Mark's voice came through, distorted. "Everyone check in." Daniel responded first. Erin next. When it was my turn, I pressed the button. "Maintenance here." "All good." There was a pause. Then Mark said, "Who just checked in twice?" Silence. "I only heard myself once," Erin said. "Same," Daniel added. Mark didn't respond right away. When he did, his voice sounded tighter. "All right." "Probably interference." "Stay put." At 2:07 a.m., the back entrance alarm went off. That door hadn't been used in years. It led straight into a ravine that filled with snow every winter. I was closest, so I grabbed my coat and flashlight and headed down the hall. The lodge felt different, too empty. The storm outside howled like something massive moving past the walls. The back door was open. Snow poured in, already piling up on the floor. The alarm blared uselessly. But there were footprints. They came from outside. Bare feet. Perfectly spaced. Calm. No signs of slipping. They stopped 10 feet inside the building. I followed them with my light and felt my stomach drop. The footprints ended in front of a large, dark stain on the carpet. Blood. Fresh. I slammed the door shut and radioed Mark. "There's blood by the back entrance," I said. "A lot." "Static." Then Mark's voice, whispering. "That's not possible." "Why?" I asked. "Because," he said, "I'm standing at the back entrance." My blood ran cold. "You're not," I said. "I'm here." "Alone." A pause. Then Mark spoke again, too evenly. "I never left my office." I turned slowly. The footprints were gone. At 2:30 a.m., Daniel went missing. 1 minute he was in the kitchen. The next, his radio sat on the counter, still transmitting static. We searched in pairs. Me with Erin. Mark stayed on the radio. The storm intensified. Snow slammed into the window so hard it sounded like fists. We found Daniel's jacket near the freezer. Inside the freezer, written in frost on the metal wall, was a single word. "Wait." Erin started crying. Then the freezer door slammed shut on its own. We ran. Back at the front desk, Mark finally came down from his office. He looked pale. Shaking. "I need to tell you something," he said. He explained that this lodge used to be a temporary shelter during a blizzard in the 1960s. A bus carrying migrant workers had crashed nearby. The lodge took them in. But supplies ran out. Rescue never came. By spring, when they opened the lodge again, there were no bodies. Just blood. Scratch marks. And reports of voices calling for help during storms. Before we could respond, Erin's radio crackled. Daniel's voice came through. "I'm cold," it said. "Please let me out." The sound was wrong. Slurred. Like his mouth was full of snow. Erin grabbed the radio, sobbing. "Where are you?" "Static." Then a different voice answered. "Everywhere." The lights went out. Total darkness. I felt breath against my ear. "Don't run," something whispered. "You'll only get lost." I ran anyway. I don't remember how long I stumbled through the lodge. Doors led to places they shouldn't. Hallways repeated. The storm felt like it was inside the building now. I burst through a door and fell into snow. Morning. Rescue teams found me miles downhill, half buried and delirious. They never found Daniel or Erin. The lodge closed permanently that winter. But locals say when snowstorms hit hard enough, radios still crackle on unused frequencies. And if you listen closely, you can hear someone asking you to wait. I was a volunteer driver for emergency medical transport in rural Montana. Most people think snowstorms are peaceful, quiet, beautiful. They've never been trapped inside one. The call came in just after 11 p.m. A farmhouse. 30 miles outside the nearest town. Elderly woman with chest pain. Roads already closing, but dispatch said I was the closest unit. The storm was getting worse by the minute, but I agreed. That was my first mistake. The snow started light, then thickened fast. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. The radio kept cutting out, replaced by low static and occasional voices that weren't dispatch. At 12:14 a.m., my GPS froze. The road disappeared beneath white. No signs. No landmarks. Just snow and darkness. Then the engine stalled. I tried restarting it. Nothing. I called dispatch. Static. I called again. A voice answered, but it wasn't the dispatcher. "You shouldn't stop," it said calmly. My blood went cold. "Who is this?" I asked. Static. Then the voice returned, closer somehow. They don't like it when you stop. I locked the doors. I told myself it was stress. Hallucination. Snow blindness. Then I saw the lights. Headlights, off to my right. Stationary. Too low to be a truck. I flashed my high beams. The lights flashed back. Relief washed over me. Someone else was stuck too. I grabbed my coat and stepped outside. The wind nearly knocked me over. Snow filled my mouth, my eyes. I forced my way toward the lights. They weren't headlights. They were lanterns. Old ones. Glass cracked. Flames barely flickering. And they were being held by people. At least, they looked like people. They stood in a loose line, facing me. Covered head to toe in snow. Faces pale. Eyes dark and hollow. No footprints around them. I backed away. One of them stepped forward. "You missed your turn," it said. Its voice sounded dry. Frozen. "I'm just trying to help someone," I said. "A mistake." Their heads tilted in unison. "You always say that," another voice replied. Behind me, my ambulance door slammed shut on its own. The wind stopped. Total silence. The lanterns moved closer. I ran. I don't remember how long I ran. My legs burned. My lungs screamed. The snow felt endless. Then I tripped and fell hard. When I looked up, I was back at my ambulance. Parked perfectly on the road. Engine running. Door open. Inside, the radio crackled. Dispatch's voice came through clear as day. "Unit 12, you've arrived at the location." I didn't question it. I drove. The farmhouse appeared out of nowhere. Lights on. Warm. Inviting. An elderly woman waited on the porch. She smiled too wide. "You took a while," she said. Inside the house was spotless. Too clean. No photos. No furniture wear. I checked her vitals. No pulse. She grabbed my wrist. Her hand was ice. "You shouldn't stop," she whispered. The lights went out. When I woke up, it was morning. I was alone in my ambulance, parked at the edge of town. No farmhouse nearby. No tire tracks leading away. Dispatch log showed no call that night. No elderly woman. No storm reported in that area. They told me I'd probably fallen asleep behind the wheel. But here's the thing. Every winter since then, when storms hit hard, I get radio calls. From Unit 12. From me. Saying I'm stuck. Saying I stopped. And begging whoever hears it not to make the same mistake.